Football Power Index season projections were released, all right? So our analytics gurus, our nerds, as we call them, put out their FPI. And so we're going to do buy or sell on some of these numbers with Dan Graziano and Louis Riddick. So Graziano, ESPN's FPI has the Eagles with a 20% chance to make the Super Bowl, which is the highest of any team in the NFL. So my question is, are you buying that the Eagles have the best chance of any team to make it to the Super Bowl?
Now, I got to be the wet blanket here and sell. I mean, look, the Eagles are great, and there's every reason to love them, but it's just so hard to repeat. We even saw it a couple of years ago when the Eagles looked like they should be the class of the NFC, and they fell apart late. A lot of things have to go right. San Francisco should be better. Dallas should be better. The North is still loaded. I think it's tough to say the Eagles get back in there. Plus, Greeny, remember, they can't win their division.
That's right. That no team has repeated in 21 years. Who is the biggest threat, Louis Riddick? This right now, who do you think is the biggest threat to Philadelphia in the NFC?
It's Washington. It's Washington, Green, because they're making all the right moves. Look, I know we want to conveniently say, well, Jayden Daniels can't have another season like he had last year. Well, why not? Why can't he? Did Cliff Kingsbury go anywhere? No. Did they add some protection on the offensive line? Yeah. Laramie Tunsil and the drafting of Josh Connerly are huge. It's huge. It all started up front with them anyway. Deebo Samuel, that acquisition is huge because we know he's a multi-tool player. And we know that a guy like Jalen Lane, who they draft from Virginia Tech, he's an absolute stud in terms of his ability to add another speed component to go along with Terry McLaurin. And really, you know what? Here's the biggest thing. If they hit on Trey Amos, the corner that they draft out of Ole Miss, and we saw Washington just get obliterated in the NFC Championship game by Philadelphia through the air on the perimeter. If Trey Amos can be that dude, I'm telling you, everything is looking up for Washington. Everything is looking up.
I completely agree. We'll see if they're able to have the bigger year in the second season for the quarterback. Of all the numbers that I saw yesterday, one that really jumped out at me was this. Our FPI has the 49ers with an over 62% chance to make the playoffs. You're saying, what does that mean? It means they have the third best chance of any team in the NFC behind only the Eagles and the Lions. It's telling us they are the best team in the NFC West. Louis, are you buying that?
No, I'm not. Look, this situation here worries me because, one, let's just start on the offensive side of the football, and let's talk about this offensive line, which, along with the defensive line, has been a hallmark of this organization. It's really set the tone in terms of the way that they like to play. What will that unit look like, okay? Number two, what will Christian McCaffrey's availability look like in terms of his durability? Is it ever going to be where they really need it to be? Is he going to be a 16, 17-game player? And on the defensive side, Greeny, they're trying to revamp everything up front with the drafting of all the youth that they did this year to kind of give Robert Saleh, their new defensive coordinator, their old defensive coordinator, now new defensive coordinator, some guys to really work with once again. And the Rams are legit in the West. The NFC's stacked. I just don't know how. They're not going to win the division. How do they get in as a wild card considering all the strength that exists in the North and in the East overall with all the improvements those teams have made?
I agree with you. I'm surprised by that projection. We'll see. In the meantime, Graziano, I was a little less surprised by this one, but still surprised. ESPN's FPI has the Cowboys with a 30% chance to make the playoffs. Let me put this in perspective. That is the fourth worst of any team in the NFC. They're saying the only teams in the NFC worse than Dallas are the Panthers, the Saints, and the Giants. Dan, are you buying the Cowboys being that level of bad?
I am not. I'm selling this. Now, look, I see where they're coming from because the two teams that were in the NFC Championship game are in Dallas's division. So they're not saying the only three teams that are worse than Dallas are those three. They're saying that's the teams that have the less chance to make the playoffs. But Dallas is getting Dak Prescott in an offseason where nobody could find a good option at quarterback. Dallas is adding Dak Prescott, who missed the second half of last season due to injury. There is every reason to believe they will be improved. They won 7 games last year in a season where they played half the year without their quarterback. I am not buying that there are 12 teams in the NFC with a better chance to make the playoffs than the Dallas Cowboys, who, when Dak Prescott has played fully healthy seasons, have consistently been a playoff contender.
What do you think, Louis?
Yeah, this is a tricky one for me, man, because I think I've said before that I think Dallas, look, I don't believe they're going to win the division. I think they're the third best in the East. And look, obviously we talked about the North, and we just talked about the West and how it looks with the Rams. This is touch and go with me. I think they're going to be right on the cusp. Quite honestly, I think the key is this. Obviously, Dak's availability is key. Him playing 16, 17 games has to be a certainty, I think, in order for them to be a playoff team. And quite honestly, the Tyler brothers on their offensive line, Tyler Guyton, Tyler Smith, Tyler Booker, all those offensive linemen who are studs, they have to all pan out and they got to be able to own the line of scrimmage. If they can do those, if they can get those two things going for them, Dak stays healthy, the offensive line becomes like some kind of semblance of what it used to be like when you played the Dallas Cowboys, which was you knew you were in for a beatdown with their physicality up front, then they have a shot. But look, I don't know. I'm really on the fence with this football team this year.
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm not sitting here telling you I think the Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl, but only the Panthers, the Saints, and the Giants. That means that the FPI is projecting Arizona has a better chance to make the playoffs, projecting that the Bears have a better chance to make the playoffs, and everybody else besides those teams that we just named. Let me leave that there for a minute. We'll come back and do more.
Now just 100 days off. We've made it more than halfway. The Steelers didn't exactly address the quarterback situation as thoroughly as some of their fans had hoped, at least to date. Russell Wilson and Justin Fields have moved on, leaving Mason Rudolph and the rookie sixth rounder Will Howard out of Ohio State as the top two on the depth chart. Then again, there's the possibility of Aaron Rodgers joining the mix, but right now there's just a lot of noise.
That's nothing new to me. There's been constant noise. That is the nature of the NFL. So I am been used to that for a long time now. Do nothing but be the best I can be and help our team get better this spring. I've been a part where you jump on the moving train late in the spring and you're also here from the jump. So I've learned to adapt to both, but it's obviously good to be wanted. Yes.
Meanwhile, a Steelers QB emeritus had some pointed comments on the situation. Terry Bradshaw is apparently not a fan of Aaron Rodgers, nor of the Steelers' pursuit of him. Bradshaw said, quote, "That to me is just a joke. What are you going to do? Bring him in for 1 year? Are you kidding me? That guy needs to stay in California. Go somewhere and chew on bark and whisper to the gods out there."
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know if Kirk Cousins is doing that, but I do know he was a no-show Tuesday as the Falcons opened voluntary OTAs. I'll say it again, voluntary. Cousins has been around the facility this spring, but he's told the Falcons he'd like to be a starter again. Not going to happen right now with the team firmly behind Michael Penix Jr. Falcons coach Raheem Morris has a bright future ahead for his young QB1.
We've seen some really exciting throws that got us all excited, including you guys. For us, it's just stuff you typically see with this guy. I wouldn't say it's typical across the league. I wouldn't say it's typical across everybody else, but with Michael, it's pretty exciting. I definitely like his approach. I like his open mindset. I like his ability to go out there and really get the guys going every day. I like his ability to sit back and debrief on those things when you ask him those questions. I like his ability to really figure it out and how he wants to do it better with each individual part of his group, whether it be the team or whether it just be offense. He's a really conscientious young man, and that's just something I see him growing at every single day.
Well, the Falcons enter the 2025 season finishing under 500 in each of the last 7